Hello guys, my name is Valerie and welcome back to my channel. Actually, I feel like welcoming myself back because it's been a minute. Anyway, so this is our creation for today. I can't really believe that I've had it for almost a year. Anyway, I'm going to show you how I made it. You see, it's so pretty and it's so easy to achieve, and you can make it in any size that you wish. So if you know me, you know I'm a fan of single crochets, but this time I use half double crochets with single crochets, also slip stitches in between those two small lines that are cutting across to create that effect. Those are slip stitches. So we're going to start by working two panels, the front and the back, both of equal sizes. So the width size is upon you. Like for my case, mine measured 28 inches, which means here is 12 inches, then the neck part is 6 inches, then the other part is 12. So just make sure it's in accordance with your size. For the materials, you will need yarn. For my case, it's Winter King 4-ply 100% acrylic, but you can work with any yarn. Any yarn can do. Then I have tape measure and then a pair of scissors. I also have a 3.0 millimeter hook and stitch markers. It's very important. So to start, we're going to make a slip knot. Then we make a chain of 115. So this one is for the length part, but you can make less or you can make more depending on how long you want it to be. So when making your chain, just be sure that it has to give you 3 or 4 equal parts, not necessarily equal, but 4 parts that will allow you to create the effect that is cutting across, the slip stitch effect, because that will be taking like 3 stitches. 3 stitches like 4 times. So it has to allow you to create that effect. So these are 115 chains. I'll just go ahead and measure to confirm how many inches they are. So I have 35 inches. I think it will shrink up to 32 inches. So for the first row, I'm going to chain 1 and then work 9 slip stitches for the hip ribbing. 9 slip stitches for the hip ribbing. And then we proceed with half double crochets because we are going to be alternating half double crochets and single crochets. But you can choose to work half double crochets all through, but for the ribbing you work slip stitches, or you can choose to work single crochets all through. But for me, I worked half double crochets and single crochets. So after you complete your slip stitches, the 9 slip stitches, you mark your work and then you proceed with half double crochets. So for my case, I'll have to divide this sweater in 4 parts. So my first segment is going to consist of 23 half double crochets before I work the 3 slip stitches. This is my 23rd half double crochet, so I'll just go ahead and mark it, or you can choose to mark your first slip stitch. It doesn't matter, as long as when you turn your work when you work your way back, you just remember where your slip stitches are beginning from and where your other stitches are. So when you complete the 3 slip stitches, you continue with the same number of half double crochets that you worked on the other side. Like for my case, it's 23, so it's 23 then 3, then 23. I don't know how many you're working with. You could be working with 15, 3, 15, 3. It doesn't matter. As long as you're trying to get some equal parts, okay? So I'm going to work the 23 half double crochets again, and then I'll work the 3 slip stitches, and then I work the 23 half double crochets again until I complete my row. Yeah, so that's my 23rd again. I'll just go ahead and mark it just as I marked the other one, and then I work my 3 slip stitches, so 3, and then I work half double crochets again, 23. You see, it's not even hard, it's so simple. You just have to follow the pattern. If you're working with single crochets, it's single crochets, then slip stitch in between. Yeah, just like that. It's so simple. Yeah, so those are I think they're the last ones, the last 23. Yeah, the last 23 HDC before I work my slip stitches. So continue working half double crochets to the end of the row, and then you'll chain 1 and turn your work. So I'm at the end of the row. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to chain 1 and then turn my work. So remember I told you I'm working with half double crochets and single crochets. I'm alternating them. So I'm going to work single crochet for my second row, but in back loops. So I hope your work up to now looks like this. So I don't know if you're working with single crochets all through, or you're alternating them as I'm doing, but from here we are going to be working in back loops only, okay? But for the first stitch, the beginning of our row, from our neck side, we work in 2 loops, okay? The first stitch is in 2 loops, and then we continue working in back loops only. So it's just as we've been doing. So the only difference here is I'm working single crochets now, but it's single crochets. You count how many HDC you had. Like for my case, I'll count how many I had before I made the slip stitches in between. So I'm just going to work the single crochet until I reach the slip stitches, and then I work the slip stitches again, and then I proceed with single crochet. So that's my last stitch of single crochet. So if you count in between the 3 slip stitches, so you just work your slip stitches, and then you remove the stitch marker and work your single crochet. Sorry, it's single crochet, and then you mark again your last single crochet. Just make sure you mark your work, because you can end up confusing, and you can by confusing, you can mess up your whole project. It will end up looking funny. So just proceed with 23 single crochets again before you work the slip stitches in between. By now, I hope you're now familiar with the pattern. So if you choose to work the same exact sweater as the one I'm doing, I mean following the exact pattern, if you follow the exact pattern, it's now, I hope now you're familiar with it. Just remember to be friends with the stitch markers, because we don't want to miss our work, okay? So if you choose to work the same exact sweater as I'm doing, if you choose to be alternating single crochets and half double crochets, just remember it's half double crochets, then single crochets, then in between slip stitches. It's as easy as that. Then remember, from row 2 we are working in back loops only. You can always count your slip stitches if you can't really remember where where the first one is starting from. You can always remember, you can always count. Row 2 is almost complete. Just remember to work your hip ribbing. They were 9 slip stitches, so do not forget. Okay? Always remember to mark your work. So this is row 3. Row 3 is going to be half double crochets. So you work your hip ribbing, then you work. It's now similar to the first row that we made. Okay? It's same exact as the first row we made. So from here we're going to work 23 half double crochets, 3 slip stitches, 23 half double crochet, 3 slip stitches. So the only difference is Now we are working in back loops. Please do not forget we are working in back loops from row 2 to the last. We are working in back loops. So 23, and then you work the 3 slip stitches. Please do not forget to mark your work, because if you dare forget, you'll mess up your whole project, unless you have a very good memory of remembering where your last and first slip stitches. But you won't take that risk. So the third row is the same as the first row that we made. That's why I'm trying to speed it up. So I think I'll just work this third and then fourth, and then I'll leave you to complete the first part of your shoulder. Then I'll come show you again how to make the neck part. And then we work the other shoulder. Then our first panel will be done, will be complete. So row 3 is complete. Row 3 is complete now, and that's how my work is looking like. I hope yours looks like mine. So we just chain 1, and the first stitch we work in 2 loops. Then we continue working in back loops. Okay. The reason why I'm working the first stitch in 2 loops is because it creates a flat surface on the border, and it makes it easier when joining the 2 panels. So the 4th row is similar to our 2nd row, so there's nothing new here. You just work your single crochets, and then you remember where you marked your work. You work your slip stitches, then proceed single crochets, slip stitches, proceed single crochets, slip stitches, until you complete the row. So our 4th row is similar to our 2nd row. So up to this point, I believe you know what you're doing. So the key point here, always mark your last or first half double crochet or single crochet, just where the slip stitch is supposed to begin from. The stitch before your slip stitch, always mark it, okay? So our row 4 is complete. Now we're going to be working on row 5. Now from row 5, okay, I feel like I should leave you guys to work it on your own, to work from here on your own, but let me work with you this 5th row, and then I'll leave you to complete the rest. So remember, we are alternating half double crochets and single crochets. So our 5th row will be half double crochets. So it's 23 3 slip stitches, 23 3 slip stitches. You're just so familiar with it, so I'll speed up everything. Okay, just because you've now been familiar with the pattern does not mean that you should throw your stitch markers away. Always mark your work, okay? Always. Until you complete the whole panel, be marking your work. So this is the end of our row 5, and so far your work should be looking like this, you see. Okay, now from here I'm going to leave you to go ahead and continue working as we've been doing. There is nothing new, there is nothing hard, it's just the same thing that we've been doing. So go ahead and complete your first shoulder part. So remember, for my case, I told you that I'll be making a width of 28 inches. So my one shoulder will be 12, then the other one 12, then the neck part will be 6. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the 12 inches before I come back. Then I show you guys how to work the neck part before we continue with the other shoulder, then we complete our work, okay? So in this case, you just work with your measurements. If it's 10, then 6, then 10, that's fine. Okay, now I'm back with my worked part already, and I'll just go ahead and measure to see how many inches, just to confirm, because I know they're 12 inches. So yeah, 12 inches, just as I had said. So make sure yours is the size that you want, okay? And now we're going to work the neck part. So it's the same thing as we've been doing, except for this we're going to leave 4 stitches unworked. Okay, we're just going to continue as we've been doing, but now we won't work in 4 stitches at the neck part. We're going to leave, like, we're going to work in complete rows, to put it in simpler terms. So when you complete your first row of the neck part, you count 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4. You leave them unworked, then you chain 1, then continue just as you were working before. Okay, you just continue with the same pattern, but now you will be working in complete rows. Yeah, now I have my neck done, my neck part done. I'll just go ahead and check the measurements to see if they are accurate with what I want. Okay, I want 6 inches and these are 7, so I undid 1 row. Yeah, 2 rows. I undid 2 rows. So remember the 4 stitches that we left. We're now going to make a chain of 4 stitches. 1, 2, 3 and 4, and then we chain 1 and turn our work. Okay, and then we continue with the same pattern. We continue with this same pattern. Yeah, so up to this point I'll just leave you to go ahead and work the same exact size as the other part. Okay, yeah, now I have my full panel done. So remember, I've already worked my first panel, so go ahead and work yours using the same exact pattern, and then we join together. Okay, when joining the two, make sure you mark where your armholes will be before joining the sides. Then the stitches should be aligned on each other. Okay, so you mark where your armholes will be, then you align the stitches before joining the 2 sides. So I'm going to be using a hook that is smaller compared to the one that I've been working with. That's just how I love it. Okay, so when it comes to joining, there is no special way of doing it. You can use a darning needle, you can join as I'm doing, slip stitches, or you can use single crochets. You can use whichever way as long as you're joining your work. Okay, So go ahead and join the other side. As you can see, I'm done joining one side, so I'll just go ahead and join the other side. Then I come back and now join the shoulders together. Okay, when joining the shoulders, I prefer using a darning needle because it's easier that way. Also, since there are no clear stitches, so I would advise you use a darning needle to join these two on the neck, on the shoulder part, okay? To join the two shoulders together. No, I'm not even sure if they're called shoulders or whatever, but I know you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm talking about, so just use a darning needle, and then I join from outside. If you prefer joining from the wrong side, that's okay with you, but for me, I join from the right side. I think there is no much to show on the joining part, so just go ahead and join your work, and then so that we can work our sleeves, okay? Just go ahead and complete, and then we work the sleeves. I have my one sleeve already done, but don't worry, I'm going to work with you the other one. So for the sleeve, the effect that the body has, it's going to be two. We're going to have two parts only, unlike the body we had four. So for the sleeve, they're going to be two parts. So before I work my sleeve, I like going around the sleeve with single crochets, but that's entirely optional. If you want, you can work single crochets around before making a long chain for the sleeve, okay? It just looks better that way. So I'll just go ahead and work single crochets around before making a long chain. So I'm done with the single crochets. Now I'm going to work a long chain of 73 plus 1. So remember, these are my measurements. For your case, you'll have to take the measurements for your arm. Then you make a chain that is equivalent to the length of your arm, okay? So for my case, it's 73, then plus 1. And then remember, we are dividing the sleeve into two with the slip stitches. Yeah, so here I have my 73 chains. These are 73 chains. I don't know if the chains or stitches, but there are 73, which is equivalent to 22 inches. So the pattern is still the same. The only difference is that we are working a sleeve. Okay, the pattern is still the same. So for the cuff ribbing, we're going to work 10 slip stitches. You remember for the hip ribbing we did 9 slip stitches, but for this we are going to do 10, or you can do more. Okay, it depends with what you want. So remember to mark your last stitch of slip stitch or your first stitch of half double crochets. So for the rows, we're going to be alternating them just the same as you are doing with the body. We begin with half double crochet row, then a single crochet row. So for the sleeve, we're going to work half double crochets, then we work 3 slip stitches, then 30 half double crochets, just like we were doing with the body. There's nothing new here, it's the same pattern. So I want to be showing you much. Okay, yeah, so those are my 30 half double crochets. So I'm going to work slip stitches, 3 of them, then continue with half double crochets. Remember to mark your work. Okay, I don't know where my stitch markers are, but I can remember where my first slip stitch is. So for you, if you can, well and good, but if you won't, please mark your work. Okay, so go ahead and work to the end of the row so that I show you how to join on the border. Yeah, so now we are at the end of the row, as you can see. Now here you will have to mark your last half double crochet, okay, before joining on the border, because you'll have to join twice into stitches. So those stitches won't count as your working stitches, they're just joining stitches, so you're not supposed to work in. So to avoid that, you'll have to mark your last half double crochet. Okay, you'll have to mark it so that when you turn your work, that will be your first stitch to work in. So by attaching, you slip stitch twice on the border and then you turn your work. So your first stitch is in the last half double crochet that you made, and now from here we're going to be working in back loops only. So remember, I'm alternating single crochets and half double crochets, so the second row is a row of single crochets. So I'm just going to work 30 of them, and then I work slip stitches, then I again work 30, then I do a cuff ribbing. So remember I asked you to mark your work. I hope you did. Okay, I hope you did mark your work. So row 3 is going to be half double crochet. Okay, it's all the same as we are working with the body, on the body. So the only reason I'm sticking around is for you to be familiar with the joining part or the border. Also, we'll be working a reduction here on the curves. So yeah, that's why I'm sticking by to show you what you're supposed to do before I leave you to go ahead and complete the whole sleeve by yourself. It's simple. So again, we are at the end of the row. So remember to mark your last half double crochet before joining on the border, okay? And by joining, you join with slip stitches. You slip stitch in first stitch and then in the next stitch. So you slip stitch in 2 stitches on the border, okay? And then when you turn your work, your first stitch to work in is the one that you had your stitch marker in. So that's the pattern for the sleeve. So now we're going to work our first reduction. So to work a reduction, you will leave the 10 slip stitches alone. You won't complete, okay? You want to complete your work by slip stitching in those 10 stitches. Just chain one and then turn your work and then continue. So that when you work your way down, now it's when you'll complete your row, okay? I hope the joining part you're now okay with it. Like you can just do it without having to pay too much attention. So now this is how you complete the reduction part. You just continue in the 10 slip stitches as normally, okay? Yeah, so that's how your work should look like. The hole is not supposed to be so big. In fact, it shouldn't have any hole, okay? So just remember you're going to be working one complete row, and then you work a reduction, one complete row, and then you work a reduction. That's how it's going to be. So I'm going to work with you the last reduction, and then I'll leave you to go ahead and complete the sleeve so that we can join it together. So I'm here again to work a reduction, and this one is the last reduction that I'm working with you. So we have 10 stitches that we work in slip stitches. So we are not going to work in those slip stitches. We're going to work in the last single crochet, then chain one and turn back and work, okay? You work in your last single crochet, then chain one and turn back, turn your work, okay? So go ahead and complete the rest of the sleeve, then come back so that we can join it together. Okay, my sleeve is right here. It's all done, and this is how it's looking. It's so pretty. Yeah, so again I'm going to join using a hook that is smaller compared to the one that I've been working with. So I don't know how you're joining yours, but this is how I'm joining mine. You can choose to work with any hook, or you can choose to work with a darning needle, just whichever way, okay? Remember, I always join my work from the outside, from the right side, I mean, from the right side, yes. So just go ahead and join your work so that we can work the neck. So that's the sleeve. It's done and it's so pretty. I hope yours looks like this. So now our last part is the neck. So for the neck, you're going to work single crochets around. It's just like, it's almost the same as the sleeve. You're going to work single crochets around before making a chain. Before making a chain for the neck. Not too long. Now for the length, we are going to make a chain of 27 or 30, depending on how long you want your neck to be. You can choose to make a shorter one, like 15 stitches or 10. Just depends with how long you want yours to be. For mine, I made a chain of 27 plus 1. So yeah, you can try to fold it back to see how long it is when you fold, or yeah, to see how long it is when you fold. And then we're going to be working as we attach our work on the border, on the neck border, just as we were doing with the sleeves. Okay. So we are at the end of our first row. So I'm just going to attach it on the border, just the same way we were attaching the sleeves. Okay. So you can also mark your last stitch of single crochet, or you can choose to count while working back. So for my neck, I chose to work single crochets all through. So as you can see, there is no alternation of half double crochets and single crochets. So it's single crochets all through. Since everything is familiar and this part is even the easiest, I'm going to leave you to go ahead and work, complete the rest of it, and come back, we join it together. Okay, or you can go ahead and join yours and try it on because I believe our work is almost done. But don't forget to weave in the ends. Okay, yeah, so go ahead and complete it, then come back, we join it together. Here is my work all done, and you can see how pretty it is. I'm just going to join the two, then I'll try it on to see how it fits. So I hope you're excited to see how yours will fit also. So this is me. I tried the sweater on and it's super warm, super comfortable. I just love how baggy it is, you know. I hope you enjoyed making yours and it fits well. So if you've not subscribed to my channel, please don't forget. Also, I'm open to feedback. Bye.